Hi, I'm Ron Jackson,
And I'm Gail.
and I've been a part of Faith United Methodist Church for, well, close to 80 years. The Jackson family is related to the Reed family, and between the Reeds and the Stones, way back when, they were perhaps the biggest landholders in the Fairview section of Chicopee. And as time went on, I'm told anyways, that the Reed family were very instrumental, along with the Stone family, in the building of our current church. My dad grew up obviously in Chicopee. My mother grew up in South Hadley. Interestingly enough, my dad was a Methodist, my mother was a Catholic. But for some reason, it was decided that I would be baptized in the Methodist Church. And so from that point on, I've been a part of Faith United Methodist Church. I've been involved in just about every aspect of the church in various committees or activities. And when the time finally came to retire from Mass Mutual, I thought it was also time to retire from all of my outside activities. And but I still keep a finger on things going on in the church, and I'm very active with the Men of Faith, which is a group that I think we have all come to really enjoy, at least the 11 to 12 of us that meet on a regular basis. And we have formed a true fellowship and really care about each other. And if nothing else, I think the Men of Faith keeps me involved in our church. And Gail, quite honestly, I'm going to say is a convert.
I was a brought-up Congregationalist. And we were married in the Whately Congregational Church by Reverend Tom McEwen, who was the pastor at Faith United Methodist Church at the time. And we met at Mass Mutual, and we were married 61 years ago in Whately, and then we moved this way. And that's why I'm here, because I went with him. And haven't looked back, although I still keep ties to the Whately Congregational Church. I have friends there, and it's a very special old church. But
I think it's important also to say that even though Gail and I have somewhat retired from the true activities of the church, we are so pleased that not only our two daughters are very much a part of Faith Church, but so are our grandchildren. And quite honestly, we're very proud of that they're keeping the Jackson legacy moving and alive in Faith Church. Well, I guess the next question that we should try to answer is, why have we continued to stay at Faith United Methodist Church? And I think that's a very interesting question to answer. My first 8 to 9 years, we lived in Fairview, and then we moved to South Hadley. And quite honestly, I was very, very active in the school, whether it be sports or whether it just be involved in various clubs. All my friends were members of the churches in South Hadley, and we had a Methodist church in South Hadley. So in some respects, it made some interesting questions as to, should we stay at Faith, or should I stay at Faith, or should I become part of the South Hadley Methodist Church? Well, the more we thought about it, we kept very, very close ties with our friends at Faith Church. Ray Burke, Billy Clark, and of course we're still very, very close with Bill. And we just enjoyed all the activity that Faith at the time had. So I decided that if I'm going to go to church, it's going to be at Faith Church. And fortunately, when Gail and I got married, she also thought that she would become part of the faith community. We enjoyed the people there. We were very, very active when we were younger. And as time went on, I think the decision to stay at Faith has proved to be the right one. Certainly when we got involved with tag sales and the spaghetti suppers and the retreats, we knew we had found a home.
Absolutely. And we were involved, very involved, as were our children and our grandchildren. And that's why we stayed. Where would we go?
Well, you've asked us to comment as to what changes we'd like to see in the church. Unfortunately, you may be dealing with two staunch Yankees, and we don't like change. Drastic change. But we know that change has to take place. In order to grow, you've got to have change. It may not be what you really like, but you have to look at the long-range goal. And I think that's important for the church. The one thing that I would like to see, not so much changed, well, maybe it is change, but how can we get our parishioners back to church? I have said for years that going to church or going to lodge, and I'm very active in the lodge, going to church is a habit. And you may skip one Sunday and feel somewhat guilty, but the second time you skip it, you say, well, that wasn't too bad. And before you know it, you're in a habit now of not going to church. And because of the fellowship I think we all enjoy with those of us that are there, that I think our people, if they would only come back and see what Faith has to offer in the way of a commitment to Jesus, I think that they would be very, very pleased. And I'll be honest with you, I think today we have a minister that I think our congregation could really relate to. And from my standpoint, I'm very pleased with that. So, yes, some changes may have to be made somewhere along the way in structure, and but basically my main concern is we got to change the habit of staying home and coming out to church.
And I agree. I'm not one to give my opinions, because they'll always come back to bite me. But anyway, I agree. I will not leave Faith Church.